Hello traders, welcome to CheckMate Trades. Stock short listing is a science, is a technique which has to be mastered if you want to be consistently profitable in stock market. If you want to create that edge in intraday trading, and especially when you are dealing with options, you have to have an accurate understanding of and a accurate criteria and a framework to shortlist the stocks. And this is exactly what we have had a breakthrough in our research that we are doing for several years now. And through these years of research, the breakthrough moment that we achieved was to identify those 5 stocks that are going to give a breakout in an upside direction or in the downside direction, depending on the overall market structure. And this is exactly how we are trading all these stocks. So yesterday what we did was we traded in Godrej JCP, and Godrej JCP chart is exactly available in front of you. This is the trade that we took. I'm recording this video on a Friday morning, and we took this trade on a Thursday. So basically JCP, you would see that we took two lots of options in Godrej JCP. Day before that we took options of Exide Industries and JSW Steel and CG Power, and before that it was Kalyan Jewelers, and before that it was DMart. And what is the technique, what is the process, what is the framework, what is the procedure and the step that we follow to do this whole stock shortlisting criteria is what we are going to discuss in this one particular video. It is not a regular YouTube video in which we are going to talk about something that will not be practical and that cannot be actionable. So this particular steps are executable by everyone who is watching this video. It is possible for you guys to create that edge in market if you understand risk management, if you are submissive to leading indicators, don't get tangled or stuck into lagging indicators. And the third and the most important thing is that you need to have belief, you have to have discipline, and you have to do the exact same steps and process every single day, okay, and not get affected by your profits or losses. Right now we are experiencing one of our longest winning streaks in year 2025, but that doesn't mean that we do not make losses. We do make losses very consistently. We make very good losses. They are good losses because they are always 1% of my overall trading capital, right? So what we are trying to attempt over here is that we will try to make around 4 to 5% of our trading capital on daily basis. This is just an possible attempt that we are trying to make. But if we lose, we will try to lose only 1% of our trading capital. I'll explain you every single aspect of this dashboard. What are the 32 technical criterias that we are trying to sort of scan in 250 future and option stocks, how we are doing the stock shortlisting, what kind of code is running behind this one particular stock shortlisting dashboard, how you can use this dashboard, access this dashboard, decode this dashboard, to always be placed at that edge in where there are the most trending stocks in the upward direction or in the downward direction. So you always have to make sure that you are in the right side of the markets. You always have the visibility of the most trending stocks which are in high momentum, which has velocity, which has speed, which has imbalance, and where the buyers are definitely have won the race and they have the control over the sellers. Very important aspect, very important video. This is not a regular YouTube video in which we are going to talk about some random things which is not executable, which is not gonna make any logical sense. Every single person who is watching this video, it is possible for every single person, if you have discipline, if you understand risk management, if you understand the laws of probability, and if you can follow a same step and you can make this boring trading technique every single day. If you can repeat the same process, it is possible for each and every one of us to create an edge. So I'm going to talk about probability. I'm going to talk about the 10 principles on which I have based out this dashboard, how I use Camarilla pivots and CPR pivots to do short listing and to take good risk to reward ratio trades. Stay tuned, and this video will create a different sort of dimension in your trading career. So if you're stuck, this is the video for all you guys. And let's follow this process every single day and let's see how the magic happens. So let's get started on to the dashboard. So I'll give a quick overview of what this dashboard does and what kind of sentiment we are trying to create and why creating a sentiment is important, right? So there are two aspects. One is we are scanning all 250 future and option stocks. Be very focused onto the screen. I'm going to write a lot of things onto the screen. So there are around 220 to 250 stocks listed in future and option. So my first problem that when I started this whole research of stock shortlisting was like, what should I do? Should I buy certain stock today or should I sell something today? So there was always this dilemma, this confusion that I always had, and the only way through which I could get through is that I should understand the overall market sentiment. And how is it possible to understand the market sentiment? The market has a pattern, the market always has a bias, the market always has a direction. It's just that it's not visible to all you guys on daily basis because it is impossible for you guys to look at 250 future and option charts. Even if you do scan 250 future and option charts of 250 stocks that are listed in future and option, it is impossible for you to understand if which of those stocks are bullish and which of those stocks are bearish. So I'm trying to resolve that issue in the first go. First of all, I need to understand the direction of the market, the bias of the market, the direction in which the smart money is investing, the direction in which the smart money is flowing. That direction could be bullish or that direction could be bearish. So the first tab that you see at the top of this particular dashboard is the market sentiment meter, right? I'm trying to figure out, is the smart money flowing towards buying or is the smart money flowing towards selling? That's the first thing that I want to understand. And based on this bias, I will be, either buying certain options of certain stocks or I would be buying a put of certain stocks. So should I operate in call option or should I operate in put option? I'm always a buyer, I'm not a seller when I'm doing intraday scalping, right? So first I have to understand the sentiment. So what we are doing over here is there are 11 conditions that we have written, and these 11 conditions are based on the 11 never changing price principles that tracks the Camarilla pivot and the CPR pivot. So daily CPR, daily Camarilla pivot, weekly CPR, weekly Camarilla pivot, monthly CPR, monthly Camarilla pivot. So we do multi-time frame analysis, and all these 11 conditions should be satisfied before a particular stock is listed on the buying box or it is going to be listed on the sell side, right? So looking at the market, there was global news. I'd never track news. I always go through my technicals. I'll always follow what's happening onto the charts, where the volume is going, where the momentum, velocity and the imbalance is flowing towards. So it is nothing. I know there was a global news about tariffs, and obviously Nifty had a gap down opening, but if you look at the Nifty chart, that is exactly what market does to you. The news, if you follow news and if you try to trade, you are going to lose money eventually most of the time. See, Nifty gave a gap down opening, but after giving a gap down opening, it took support from the S3 pivot level and then continued the rally upwards all the way to R1, right? So there the smart money was still continued to buy, right? There was only retailers were trapped into this gap down opening. So this low was not broken and there was a trap. So yesterday I have done something unusual, but I'll teach you everything. So stay tuned, be patient. If you're not having time, just save this video for later, like and share, and watch it later when you are going to be sitting quietly in a peaceful place where you can understand what I'm actually trying to communicate to all you guys. So the first thing is I track all the 250 future and option stocks and I scan all the 11 conditions. These are all technical conditions on multiple CPR time frames. I use daily CPR, I use weekly CPR, I use monthly CPRs as well, trying to figure out that is smart money bullish enough to actually make these stocks tradable above a particular multi-time frame CPR. So yesterday it was pretty clear at around 9:30. I make my decision, I make my bias, and it was pretty clear the market is going to be a seller's market because most of the stocks were inclined towards selling. There was an immense amount of selling happening in stocks. Nifty is an indices and it is over there for trapping the investors, right? So it is quite manipulative. I don't recommend people to trade in Nifty manually. You can trade in Nifty through algos only when there is a supreme momentum, only where the trap is realized, and those techniques I've already taught at stretch in my previous YouTube channel as well, and it is also available to everyone on www.checkmatetrades.com. Now what we do is, after understanding the sentiment of 250 future and option stocks, what I do is I do an additional assessment of Nifty 50 stocks. So I am specifically looking at Nifty 50 sentiment. So what is happening exactly in Nifty 50 is what I want to know, because Nifty 50 has all the large cap companies. If the large cap companies are bullish, or if the large cap companies are bearish, like it was bearish yesterday, most of the companies were experiencing some side of selling pressure. Most of the companies were trading below its previous day low. Most of the companies were trading below the daily CPR, below the weekly CPR, and the overall trend was creating was the exponential moving averages, the VWAP, the volumes. So we compare price action of previous 20 days and try to figure out what exactly exceptional is happening today. So it was again clear in my mind that it is going to be Nifty 50, the sentiment is going to be selling, and it was obvious that we should have picked up a stock that is going to be on the sell side. So it could be Hind Copper, that gave a rally of 6% in the downward direction. I'll just move my picture because you're not able to see the stock recommendation. So these are the steps. The process that I was talking about is, I try to create a sentiment, I try to understand the bias, I try to understand the direction, in which direction is the smart money flowing. If most of the stocks are on the sell side, I will always take buy a put option of a certain stock that is listed over here. Now these two scanners is exactly where I do my stock picking. So I'll pick up a stock from the call side from this box, or I'll pick up the stocks from the put side from this box, right? So yesterday I was supposed to pick up a put option, some stock that was going to be a put option. But rather than that, we picked up a stock that was Godrej Properties. You would see a Godrej JCP, because I showed you a picture of my yesterday's trade. I took 28th August call to 12:40 call, and we took a quick scalping trade because the JCP was available over here, and the price action was very obvious. So the price action, the momentum, the strength of the breakout, the volumes, the price action, when I compared it to the previous 20 days, I do not do it manually, the dashboard does it. So I don't have to do anything. Whenever the stock appears on the dashboard, I just plot my chart with the basic pivots. And using these basic pivots, wherever I take an entry, if I took an entry at R4 when this breakout happened, so this was my entry candle, and I booked my profits at R4. So a very clean and simple trade, and I was hardly, these are like 5-minute candles, I was hardly in trade for less than 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, within 5 to 6 candles, I exited the trade. I was done for the day, and I was off my desktop, nothing done. No, obviously I did something else in my algo space. There was research happening, and then I took some trades in gold, XAU, USD. But NSE was done for me, because I truly believe that when there is trend, when there is momentum, when there is velocity, you cannot capture the whole trend. So I don't have any sort of expectations or anxiety that I'm taking a late entry, right? So every entry will be a late entry, every trade will be an imperfect trade. There is no concept of a perfect trade. There is no concept of entering at the bottom and selling at the top. All of these are bookish and theoretical things. Trade execution is an art, and you have to keep sort of sharpening that art, and by practice. So every single day there is a 50% probability that you might make losses, or you will make a profit. If you make loss, you will lose. So I'll tell you about my risk management criteria as well, which most of the people fail to understand, because most of the people don't have enough trading capital and don't have understanding of it. So what I do is, first of all, my total trading capital is 5 lakh rupees for this strategy. The strategy what I'm talking about is, what is the strategy? The strategy is that this is the strategy. This dashboard is the strategy. The way I go through the steps, the procedure, the market sentiment is the strategy, and what is running behind it, I'm going to explain you in a little while in this one particular video. Like, these are 32 conditions that has to be met before a stock appears on this one particular dashboard. Because before Cayenne was suggested, or Godrej JCP was suggested, or Hindustan Unilever was suggested on the call side, 32 individual conditions, criterias had to be met before a stock was recommended over here. Similarly 32 individual conditions have to be met when a particular stock is recommended on the put side. So if Hind Copper was recommended to be traded on the put side, or Aarti Industries, or BSoft, or MGL, or Inox Wind, so there are 32 individual conditions that has to be met. Multi-time frame analysis is a part of it, volume analysis is a part of it, smart money tracking concept is a part of it, bulk deals, open interest, all of it. So what we do is we track all of this data for today in the initial half an hour, 1 hour, and then we compare that data with the previous 20 days. If there is exponential manipulation happening, buying happening or selling happening, extreme volumes coming in, open interest is coming in, short recoveries are coming in, if there is exceptional things happening today as compared to the previous 20 days on an average of the 20 days, then a stock is recommended over here. All you have to do is you pick up a stock and then not apply any further technical analysis. So after I get this as an entry candle, I couldn't say the strategy is obviously that I prefer trading above R1 pivot level. That is one of the criteria, and the stocks will only get recommended when they start trading above the R1 pivot level. The R1 pivot level is the minimum criteria. I want the stock to, because I'm also calculating momentum, the velocity. So how I do that calculation is I check how is the price rising in the previous 5 minutes, and with what percentage and with what speed within this 5 minutes. I make multiple parts of it and try to check how the price is rising in the current 5 minutes. And obviously when you see a sort of velocity and an extreme entry and volumes and open interest and a trend being created, this trend, and today people didn't buy the stock at 9:15, the positions were made yesterday itself, right? And that is always the criteria that people try to fail in. Now if you try to overcomplicate this after the stock is recommended onto the charts, if you say I want to check for an inside candle, I want to check for an engulfing candle, I want to check for a left eye right eye pattern, I want to check for a trend line breakout, then you are overkilling it, right? Technical analysis is always a probability. Everything is just a probability, right? There is always a 50% probability that you might make profit or you might make loss. Always 50% probability of profit and loss. Every single trade you take, this particular trade today that you have taken at this particular instant, the probability of you making profit or loss is always 50%, right? The probability jo hai, that changes over a series of trades, right? If you try to calculate the probability of last 30 trades you have taken in the previous month, or you have taken probability of last 100 trades that you have taken, then that probability might be separate. That will not be 50% or a 50%. That will be probably 70% on the winning side, 30% on the losing side, or vice versa. So that is absolutely fine. But today the probability of I taking a trade or you taking a trade is always going to be 50%. You use some logic or you don't apply any logic, or if you are trading through fundamental analysis, I am taking this trade through technical analysis, still the winning probability and losing probability is going to be equal. So there is no fear. And why there is no fear? The fear is not there because of the risk management. Look, the trading capital that I deploy in markets for this one particular intraday scalping strategy that I operate in options is 5 lakh rupees, right? Of this 5 lakh rupees, I can afford to lose 1% every single day, which is equivalent to 5,000 rupees. Only 5,000. If I lose, my loss cannot be more than 5,000 rupees. Impossible that I will see a loss of more than 5,000 rupees over a series of trade, over the lifetime, over the trading career, over the time that my trading capital is 5 lakh rupees. Until the time my trading capital is 5 lakh rupees, I will not lose more than 5,000 every single day. I will not take more than one trade. So if you have seen multiple trades in the screenshots or in my PNL, those are for other live classes that I'm taking for my trading desk, because I'll be traveling. Like next week I'm not available, I'll be traveling to Phuket for the whole week. I will not be available on YouTube as well. So I'll be leaving you alone for a week's time, but once I come back, so for those weeks, for those months, if I start doing something else, which I'm already doing, through multiples, I'm not going to trade every single day, and I want to create a trading desk who should be able to trade for me, right? So for their training purposes, we were trying to do all those multiple trades to teach them how to place limit orders and all of that stuff, but that's okay. What I'm trying to say is I take one trade, either I'll make 5,000 rupees, more than 5,000. 1:3 is what I try to attempt. So my expectation is that I will try to make around 3%. That is 15k is my daily target. We reach 10k, 12k, 15k. Sometimes it is 18,000. Sometimes it could be 25,000 on a very exceptional day. I don't control that, but my attempt is that I'll try to attempt 1:3 risk to reward ratio. If I lose, I will lose 5k. If I make money, I will make 15k. As simple as that. Now the thing is, why is my trading capital 5,000 rupees? I said I took two lots of Godrej JCP, right? I took two lots. How much capital do I require to take two lots of Godrej JCP? That is a call option of August. I only require 30,000 rupees. Rest 4,70,000 rupees is sitting dormant into my account, right? I'm not doing anything with those 4.7k. And that's the beauty of the game. So there are two things that I do over here. One is that I sell options of 4.7k. I don't want the money to be sitting there lying down doing nothing. And what I do in those cases is, if the markets, looking at the market sentiment meter, if most of the stocks are on the sell side, what I'll do is, one thing is certain, that if the most of the stocks in Nifty 50 are on the sell side, most of the stocks are bearish in nature, Nifty will try to, definitely there is a 50% probability that Nifty will reach S3 pivot level or S4 pivot level. But one thing will certainly not happen on a bearish day, that Nifty will be able to reach all the way to R3 pivot level. So this is the DK that we try to eat through option selling. That is just to make extra 0.5 or 1% of the trading capital that is sitting dormant. I do it certain days. I might not do it if I'm too busy and tackling a lot of calls or training videos. So it depends on that. Another thing that we do is, so that was the logic of trading capital. And another thing that I want to tell you is, what are the criteria that are running behind this particular dashboard. So there are multiple CPR patterns. Like I have written around 11 CPR patterns through discovery. So there are a lot of the patterns are already written in certain books. Some trainers on YouTube must have spoken about it. But the most unique thing that we try to do is, we are not working on CPR patterns on a daily time frame. Excuse me for that. So what I do is, I also use certain CPR patterns for my entry criteria on a micro time frame. So if you look at this chart of Godrej JCP again, you would realize that you can see certain CPRs over here. There are short-term CPRs. These CPRs are nothing but 30-minute CPR, right? What is a CPR? Do you guys know what is a CPR? A CPR is a central pivot range, and people must have spoken about or talked about daily CPR. So there are daily CPRs. Every CPR, whatever CPR you see, that is created through a price action of the previous day, right? On the previous day, whatever happens, based on that price action, you see a daily CPR. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm taking my research to another level, in which I'm working on 3-year CPR, I'm working on 1-year CPR. I'm also working out for my scalping trades. I'm using the same strategy that I apply for my investment, for my swing trading, for my positional trading, but I apply the same strategy on my 30-minute CPR. So if you see, this is a trend reversal CPR over here. There is a narrow CPR at 9:15. Then there is another CPR that you see between 9:15 to 9:30. 9:30 to 9:45. This is a half an hour CPR, and this CPR is created based on the price action of the previous 30 minutes, right? And this is a trend reversal CPR, and when you see a support happening over here and there is a breakout of R1, so this is a trend reversal setup that we deploy on intraday CPRs or daily CPRs, but I'm applying it on 30-minute CPR right now. And you will see this is the rally that's coming in an upward direction after a trend reversal. There is another trend reversal CPR over here. You see there is a narrow CPR. The CPR is placed below the previous 30-minute CPR, but rather than that, the price goes upwards. So there is a trap over here on the downside, and this strategy can be used for targets to be achieved, where you take entry at R4 and you take exits at R5. So that was that. Again, another concept I use on a CPR is a virgin CPR. So 30-minute CPR is virgin, that is untouched by the price. Pending liquidity is over there. So if you see price coming down to eat out that liquidity and a bounce happening in an upward direction, I'll use that strategy as well to go in the upward direction. Other than that, how is this dashboard operating is what I'm going to quickly go through. So first of all is opening price. So first thing that I've trying to understand, that all 32 conditions that are should be satisfied before a stock is recommended over here is the first thing is the opening range. Like what is the velocity with which you see the first 15-minute candle, first 5-minute candle. That's what we are trying to see. Price rejections is what we try to track on a 30-minute CPR. And also the most important criteria is I only take trades above the R1 pivot level, right? This is most important thing. I'll show the trade that we took yesterday, day before yesterday. Yesterday, I guess, is DMart. Yeah, yesterday. So this is another trade that we took at DMart. And you would see the DMart trade also exactly the same. The trend was created on the previous day itself, right? The volumes, the price action, the bulk deals, the positions were already created, the consolidation, the candles getting narrower, a squeeze sort of getting created on the DMart chart. Everything was planned a previous day. Nothing happens on the day you see such rallies. Everything happens on a previous day. It's all well planned by the smart money. You just need to have that edge to identify where the smart money is, and that is exactly what this dashboard does on daily basis. You would see we traded DMart again. We did not take early entries. I always take entries after 9:45. The first half an hour is usually no trading zone for me. I'll try to, because the market sentiment takes some times for me to be clear. It requires at least 30 minutes, initial 30 minutes for the market to scan all 250 stocks, run all the 11 conditions, and to identify, is the market going to be bearish or is the market going to be bullish. If this side is bullish side, and you will take call options if the market is bullish, this side is bearish side, and if most of the stocks on the bearish side, you will actually take a short trade, right? But yesterday I did something exceptional. Though the overall market was bearish, but I looked at the Nifty structure. I knew it was a trap, and then in this sort of discretion will come with experience. You don't have to do it right now. But even if you would have traded, let's say, Aarti Industries, let's look at the chart of Aarti Industries. It would have been an extremely profitable day, right? A trade taken at around S2 pivot level, and the targets that were achieved were S5 pivot level. So this is exactly what I would have been traded and done exactly similar thing that I have done in Godrej JCP, right? My mindset and my confidence, my trade execution is really sharp on the bullish side. It is just my nature, and that's why at times I take additional risk, and there is some gap in my trade execution as well, and there will be, because emotions are always at play. There is no way that you could take emotions out unless and until you completely automate your trades, right? So I'm not scared of my emotions, and okay, I know my strength is on the bullish side. It's okay for me to lose 5,000, or it is okay for me on a particular day. But if my gut feel is telling me that maybe I should take a bullish trade based on my understanding, then I'm okay to do it. But this dashboard gives you a complete a picture of exactly what you should be doing. Like I'm again showing you all the bearish stocks, be it Bsoft, or let's say let's go to Hind Corp. I think Hind Corp was a bit of a gap down. You look at this gap down, and then stock right from S1 pivot level to S3 pivot level, dot to dot, you got your entries. The best part about this is that such conditions, that when you are doing the stock short listing, you write one or two conditions, maybe on the price action, maybe on open is equal to open is equal to low, that are very stupid conditions which will be seen in around 150 stocks out of 250. So that is not what I wanted to do. I wanted the criteria to be so tight, that you will only, like on the bullish side, yesterday the whole market was bearish, right? On the bullish side, I have only had 4 stock recommendations. Out of that 4, Dabur was the only disappointment. Other than that, every other stock has actually given a great rally in the upside direction. Let's look at the Dabur chart. Like, what worst could have happened is this: you take a trade at R1 pivot level and you still have got R3. So it was a good trade, but then there is this jigsaw moment that you see, and the momentum was not consistent on the upside direction. So any which ways, we would have taken the trade around 10:30, and I'm comfortable right from R1 pivot level to R3 pivot level. We could have extended it to R4 as well, but even this is a really good trade. If you see, it is around 1.110% of trade in the spot chart. So 1% in spot chart could be around 5 to 10% in underlying options. That's the beauty of trading options, and that is exactly what we do with the minimum trading capital is what you can operate over here. But again, as I said, I require 20 to 30,000 rupees to buy 2 lots, but my trading capital at rest to actually give what is that 5 lakh rupees that is sitting dormant doing to me is that is giving me an edge, that is giving me an emotional balance, that is taking the fear out of my mind, that even if I want to lose 5,000 rupees, like I trade to lose 5,000 rupees every single day, and I'm very comfortable in losing 5,000 rupees, and the longest losing streak will not disturb me, because even if I lose for 10 days continuously, the max I would lose is 50,000 rupees. I know even if the worst possible strategy, it is impossible for me to lose 10 days in a row, right? Given the years of experience, given the kind of tools I'm using, given the kind of conditions, like 32 conditions to be satisfied, market direction being in my side, I knowing the bias, and I taking the entry with the best risk management, it is impossible that I lose continuously for even 5 days, to be frank, with this kind of professionalism and the tools that we are using. So there is no fear as such of losing. So that's what I wanted to say about DMart. If you see, beautiful chart. I mean, this was exceptional. So we exited R5. Usually what happens is, I R5 is the upper limit for me. I do not want to keep my trades running above R5, because these wicks, when they are created for a 5 minute, they get you nervous. You want to preserve your capital, and you don't want to have the sort of greed to capture everything of the rally. You have to capture a small part of that rally. This 4 candles is 20 minutes, and in 20 minutes, right from R1 pivot level all the way to R5 pivot level is what we were trying to achieve, and it was recommended onto the dashboards as well. And that's the beauty of this one particular dashboard. On the charts, again, there are a lot of people trying to understand what I see onto the charts. So I'll just explain you the charts very quickly on, let's say, Aarti Industries, right? Okay, so let's go on to the charts. So this is a Aarti Industries, but if you want, we can go on to what we took yesterday. Where is Godrej JCP? Usually, most of my charts look like that every single time. If you're wondering what this is 30-minute Camarilla pivot, the black lines that you see, but I'm going to hide it right now because we don't need this is anyways very technical, and I think the YouTube audience has a upper limit onto the level of complexities that they could actually take, because YouTube is a mode of medium of entertainment as well. So too much technicals, too much complexities is maybe not liked by most of the audience. But this is serious business. It's all research based. It's all extremely logical. And we are trying to find some sort of certainty in the whole chaotic, in a broader sense, it's all chaotic. I don't know exactly how things are working out, but when a particular stock is getting recommended, my only job is to look for the best risk to reward ratio, and I will take that trade to lose less than 5,000 rupees every single day. That is exactly what the strategy is. So what you can use the basic pivots, but there are a lot of free indicators I've put in the description box to do check that out. So this, I select traditional over here. The P, that is the pivot, can be selected. This is a freely available indicator that is available on TradingView. Just go onto the indicators section and search for pivots. Once you apply the pivots, the concept is that pivots is based on the previous day price action. There is a calculation. Basically what pivots will do is it will take previous day high, low, close, open. You'll take these 4 calculations and do mathematical calculations to find out dynamic resistances on the top. From the P, the P is always over here. That is the central pivot range. P is equilibrium. P is the mean valuation. P is where the price is always cheap for both buyers and sellers. So if I go and select P over here, and I'll try to make this red, and you would see this is the P, that is the central pivot point. This is the P. So there are 5 levels above P, that is R1, R2, R3, R4 and R5. The best part is that this is not a lagging indicator. These resistance levels is where the price is actually experiencing resistance. These resistance levels, once broken, act as a support. You would see every price action will make sense over here, right? So if this is where the top was at R5 pivot level. The price, the sellers enter into the market, the profits were booked at accurately at R5 pivot level. So what has happened over here? You have not used RSI, you have not used MACD, you have not used any oscillator. They are all lagging indicators. They are all, they lag. So basically price action happens, and based upon the price action they give you a crossover, or they give you a buy or a sell signal, or they do all sort of bullshit. We don't want that. So this is exactly how the leading indicators should be used, and that's how we are using it. Below the pivot, there are again 5 levels, that is S1, S2, S3, S4, and S5. These are support levels, right? If I'm taking a short trade, like let's say Bsoft, so these are all support levels. You would see this is how Bsoft has behaved from S1 pivot level to S2 achieved and consolidation, and then S2 once broken, we received exactly the targets of S3. So this S3 pivot level is not a lagging indicator, it's a leading indicator. This S2 pivot level is a leading indicator. It is given you the understanding of support. So what we have done is, this pivots basically can be used at on multiple time frames. So you would see I can use this pivots on a multiple, like this can be daily, it could be weekly as well. Like these are the weekly pivots, the pivots for the whole week. You have full week ka R1, R2, R3, R4 and S1, S2, S3, S4. Or you can go to the pivots and you can use it not just weekly but also monthly. So you can, you have R1, R2, R3, R4 for a month. If you use monthly pivots and if you want to take swing trades, you put on the daily charts, like daily candlestick patterns, and then you can figure out how you want to trade, right? I usually like taking reversal trades in a monthly chart from S1 or S2 pivot level for the swings on the top side. So that's the beauty of it. Look, there is lots to be covered, but I want to know exactly what you want me to talk about, what exactly in CPRs or camera pivots you are interested to learn, and I'll make that exact video on YouTube for you to follow. So stay tuned until the next video. Thank you so much. If you like, please make sure that you share this video with everyone in your WhatsApp, and do comments to encourage and to give feedback on what exactly you want to learn in the next video. Thank you. Bye.